Do you want to spot low-value people in your surroundings? This video covers the 10 signs you need to look out for. Many people exhibit these traits without realizing the impact they have on their social lives. In fact, studies show that certain behaviors can significantly alter how others perceive us. Recognizing these signs is crucial not just for spotting them in others, but also for avoiding them ourselves. By the end of this video, you will understand these signs and how to identify them in others. Let's start. Number 1. Exploiting others for their benefit. A noteworthy sign of a low-value individual is their tendency to exploit relationships solely for personal gain, constantly seeking favors, resources, or support without reciprocating. This self-centered approach completely disregards the needs or contributions of others. Consider this scenario. You have a friend who only appears when they need something, disappearing when everything is calm. Or someone who borrows money with no intention of repayment or exploits your expertise without a hint of acknowledgement. It's as if they are on a mission to fulfill their desires, prioritizing their needs over everything else. From a psychological perspective, it reflects a calculated form of social opportunism. Their engagement in relationships isn't driven by genuine connection, but rather what can be extracted from it. This approach diminishes the value of their connections with others and underscores a self-serving mindset. Number 2. Excessive disagreeableness. Low-value people often carry an unnecessarily disagreeable vibe, seemingly always up for a fight, using conflict as a tool to assert dominance or control. For these people, their constant need for confrontation and arguments seems to be driven by a hunger for dominance. It's like they want to be the alpha in their social circles. By disagreeing with pretty much everything, they aim to steer conversations, decisions, or interactions, keeping that perceived sense of superiority intact. It's a psychological quirk, this thirst for social dominance, that turns them into persistently disagreeable characters. Imagine this in a team setting. There's that coworker who's always shooting down ideas, not because they're bringing constructive criticism, but solely to keep control and belittle opposing viewpoints. Number 3. Propensity for deceit. You know you're dealing with a low-value person when they're always playing fast and loose with the truth. I'm talking about someone who can't resist weaving a web of lies, creating a tangled mess that chips away at trust and integrity. These people, if they're at work, will be making up achievements left and right just to get a pat on the back. Sure, they may bask in that short-term glory, getting all the praise and attention, but when their colleagues and bosses catch wind of the fibs, it's trust that takes a nosedive. Suddenly, they're not the reliable and competent teammate they seem to be. And this habit of spinning tales isn't confined to the 9-to-5 grind. In personal relationships, they're like professional storytellers, crafting these elaborate narratives to either impress or sidestep tricky conversations. It's a constant cycle of deceit that definitely doesn't elevate their standing in any aspect of life. Number 4. Lack of drive. Have you ever stumbled upon someone who seems to be cruising through life without a hint of real motivation or ambition? Well, that's the classic hallmark of a low-life person's lack of drive. These individuals often find themselves in a perpetual state of inertia, meandering without a clear purpose or making any meaningful progress. Goals? If they have any, they're typically vague and not the kind that propels them out of their comfort zones. Challenges? Definitely not their cup of tea. Procrastination becomes their trusty sidekick, and taking steps towards personal or professional growth? Well, that's just not on their to-do list. What adds a twist to this plot is that people without drive treat change like it's their arch nemesis. They prefer cozying up in the snug embrace of their comfort zones, even if it means missing out on opportunities for growth. It's a surefire recipe for a stagnant existence where their untapped potential remains locked away. Number 5. Lack of empathy and emotional disconnect. Empathy, the magical glue that binds connections, becomes painfully absent in some individuals. These folks just can't seem to wrap their heads around or respond to the emotional experiences of those around them. Emotionally, it manifests as a struggle to connect deeply with others. They appear indifferent to the highs and lows of friends, family, or colleagues, maintaining a noticeable emotional distance. Their interactions lack the genuine warmth and understanding that usually make relationships click. Psychologically, a lack of empathy often stems from emotional detachment or a self-centered mindset. If it's emotional detachment, it could be a fear of vulnerability or past traumas, prompting them to switch off from others' emotions as a protective measure. On the flip side, a self-centered mindset places their needs front and center, overshadowing any understanding or support for others. Number 6. Living through others' triumphs. Ever come across someone who's all about cheering for everyone else's victories, but seems to be on the sidelines when it comes to their own goals and adventures? Well, it might sound like humility and humbleness on the surface, but that's a classic low-value vibe. So, why does this happen? It's often tied to a lack of confidence, a fear of failure, or just a plain sense of inadequacy. Living vicariously becomes their default move because, for a moment, it lets them escape from their own feelings of not measuring up. It's like they're pouring a crazy amount of emotional energy into other people's successes, whether it's friends, family, or even celebrities, but they mile down when it comes to their lives. This spectator mode sets them up for a loop of unfulfilled dreams because they consistently prioritize others' experiences over their own goals. It's a sign that maybe it's time to swap being the audience for stepping onto the stage of their own life. Number 7. Repeating the same mistakes. Here's a biggie. If you notice someone repeatedly stumbling into the same pitfalls, it's a glaring sign of a low-value individual. It's like they're stuck in a loop, making the same blunders over and over again and not bothering to learn from the experience. Psychologically speaking, this pattern often points to a resistance to self-improvement or reluctance to confront their shortcomings. Whether it's in personal relationships or professional endeavors, this repetitive mistake-making behavior can become a major roadblock to growth. Imagine a friend who consistently finds themselves in toxic relationships, making the same errors in judgment when it comes to choosing partners. It's not just bad luck, it's a refusal to break free from destructive patterns. Recognizing and learning from mistakes is a crucial aspect of personal development, and when that's consistently overlooked, it's a definite sign of a low-value mindset. Number 8. Not following on commitments. When it comes to spotting a low-value person, a major red flag is their consistent track record of not following through on commitments and promises. It's like they've got a commitment allergy, and reliability and accountability are nowhere to be found. Maybe you've got a friend who's always a yes to social plans, but becomes the master of last-minute cancellations. It's like a broken record, and the frustration levels among those expecting them to stick to their commitments are hitting the roof. Now, it's not just a social thing. This lack of commitment can seep its way into work life, messing with projects, deadlines, and the overall dynamics of a team. These people need to step up their accountability game and take a proactive stance on meeting their obligations. It's all about being real with themselves and only committing to what they can genuinely handle. Number 9. Lack of gratitude. Gratitude, the ability to acknowledge and appreciate the kindness and support of others, is a cornerstone of healthy relationships. Unfortunately, low-value individuals tend to distance themselves from this fundamental quality. An ungrateful demeanor often ties back into a lack of humility or an entitlement mindset. These individuals may perceive acts of kindness or generosity as something owed to them, rather than expressions of goodwill. It's like they've got a blind spot for appreciation no matter the gestures, favors, or support extended their way. It's like they've got a VIP pass in their own minds, believing they deserve special treatment, privileges, or recognition without breaking a sweat to earn it. This entitlement vibe often leads to a tricky attitude where they think the world owes them something, creating tension in both personal and professional relationships. Number 10. They have a victim mentality. The victim mindset involves consistently viewing oneself as a victim of circumstances, attributing personal failures to external factors, and often avoiding personal responsibility. Spotting a low-value person becomes pretty obvious when they're rocking this victim mentality. These folks see themselves as eternal victims of the universe, pointing fingers at others or blaming the world for every hiccup and hurdle instead of owning up to their own choices and actions. Now, psychologically speaking, this victim mentality can have some deep roots. It might be fueled by a fear of failure, a shaky sense of self-esteem, or a helplessness learned from past experiences. Those who've embraced this mindset tend to believe that they are at the mercy of circumstances, thinking they have little control over their lives. This can make them resistant to change or improvement because they're convinced they're stuck in a situation where they have zero agency. It's like they've got this mental script where they're always the tragic hero, facing a world of challenges. If you've made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.